$300. That's it. That's what it took to build a battery system that now powers my entire cabin every single day with zero monthly bill. No propane truck showing up, no diesel generator screaming at 2 in the morning, no electric company sending me a letter every winter asking why my bill jumped again. Just quiet, steady power, sitting in a corner of my cabin doing its job while I sleep. And the wildest part? It took me exactly 2 hours to set up. Not 2 days, not 2 weekends. 2 hours start to finish, with tools I already had lying around in my garage. If you had told me a year ago that I'd be living off-grid on a budget system smaller than a mini fridge, I would have laughed at you. I used to think off-grid power was for rich guys with $10,000 solar arrays and a garage full of specialized equipment. Turns out I was wrong, dead wrong. And today I'm going to walk you through exactly what I built, why it works, and why almost nobody talks about this option, even though it's sitting right there in plain sight. Before we go further, if you're someone who likes real numbers, real setups, and real breakdowns without the fluff, hit that subscribe button right now. Because this channel is built for people exactly like you, people who want the truth about money, power, and how far a dollar can actually stretch when you know where to look. Now let me take you back to where this whole thing started. I bought this cabin 2 years ago. It's small, it's tucked way back in the woods, no power lines anywhere near it. The nearest utility pole is almost a mile away, and when I called the power company to ask what it would cost to run a line out to my property, the number they gave me made my stomach drop. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars just to get a wire strung from the road to my front door, and that's before I even paid a single cent for the electricity itself. So for the first year, I did what most cabin owners do. I bought a gas generator, loud, smelly, thirsty for fuel, and honestly, kind of a headache. Every weekend I'd load up my truck with gas cans, drive them out to the cabin, and spend half my time just keeping the generator fed. It worked, sure, but it never felt like a real solution. It felt like a patch, a band-aid on a bigger problem. And every time I filled that tank, I couldn't stop thinking about how much money was just evaporating into noise and exhaust. Then one evening, sitting by the fire, flipping through some forums, I stumbled onto something that caught my attention. Guys online were talking about small battery banks, the kind you'd normally see people use for camping or emergency backup, but they were wiring them together in a way I hadn't seen before. Not fancy, not expensive, just smart. They were taking basic components, the kind you can find at any hardware store or order online for almost nothing, and stacking them into a system that could run lights, charge devices, power a small fridge, and keep going day after day without needing constant attention. I remember reading through thread after thread that night, and the more I read, the more one thought kept nagging at me. If this actually works the way they're describing, why isn't everyone doing this? Why are people still paying utility companies thousands of dollars to run a line through the woods, when there might be a way to sidestep that entire problem for the cost of a nice dinner out? So I did what anyone a little bit stubborn and a little bit curious would do. I decided to test it myself. Not because I fully believed it would work, but because I needed to know either way. I made a list of parts. Nothing exotic. A deep cycle battery, the kind you'd find in a boat or an RV, a small charge controller, some basic wiring, a simple inverter to convert the stored power into something my regular household outlets could use. I priced it all out, added it up twice because I didn't trust the first number, and it landed right around $300. For a guy who was staring down a bill in the tens of thousands just to get power run out to his property, $300 felt almost like a joke, like there had to be a catch somewhere. Like I was missing something obvious that was going to blow up in my face the second I flipped the switch. But here's the thing about being skeptical. Sometimes the only way to actually know is to just build the thing and see what happens. So that's what I did. I ordered the parts. They showed up over the course of a week. And one Saturday morning, I laid everything out on my cabin floor like I was about to defuse a bomb. I had my phone propped up, ready to record, half expecting to end up with a video of me explaining why this whole idea was a total bust. I want to be honest with you. There's a moment right before you flip a switch on something like this, a system you built yourself with parts you're not 100% sure you wired correctly, where your stomach does this little flip. You start second-guessing every connection. Did I tighten that terminal enough? Is that wire gauge actually rated for what I'm pushing through it? Did I get the polarity right on the charge controller? All those questions come flooding in right at the moment of truth. And that's exactly where I'm going to pause this story, because what happened next, when I actually flipped that switch for the first time, changed the way I think about power, about money, and about how much of what we're told we have to spend is actually just not true. There's a reason the system has now been running for months without a single failure, and there's a reason almost nobody talks about it publicly. Some of it comes down to how these components actually behave over time, something most people get wrong the first time they try this. Some of it comes down to a mistake I almost made, one that could have fried the entire system in under a minute if I hadn't caught it. And some of it comes down to a number, a real number, the actual cost breakdown down to the last dollar. that I'm going to show you piece by piece so you can see exactly where every single cent went and whether this is something you could realistically do too, even if you've never touched a wire in your life. All right, let's pick this back up right where I left you, standing in front of that switch, heart pounding a little, wondering if 2 hours of work and $300 were about to pay off or blow up in my face. I took a breath. I double-checked the connections one more time, because that's just who I am. I'd rather waste 30 extra seconds than fry a battery I just spent good money on. And then I flipped it. Nothing dramatic happened. No sparks, no smoke, no smell of burning plastic. Just a small light on the charge controller, blinking to life, steady and calm, like it had been doing this for years. I plugged in a lamp first, the simplest test I could think of. It clicked on instantly, full brightness, no flicker, no delay. I just stood there for a second, staring at that lamp like it was the most impressive thing I'd ever seen, even though logically, I knew a lamp turning on shouldn't feel like a miracle. But after a year of gas generators and fuel runs and constant noise, that quiet little click felt like something had shifted. Over the next few days, I started testing everything I could throw at this system. I plugged in my phone charger, and it charged just like it would off any wall outlet. I ran a small fan for an entire afternoon, just to see how much the battery would drop, and by evening it had barely moved. I hooked up a mini fridge, the kind you'd use in a dorm room or a small apartment, and let it run continuously for 2 full days straight. That was the real test, because a fridge cycles on and off constantly, pulling power in bursts, and if this system had any weakness, that's where it would show up. But it didn't. The fridge kept humming along, keeping everything inside cold, and the battery just kept doing its job like it had no idea it was supposed to be struggling. That's when I started to realize this wasn't some fluke. This wasn't a lucky first run. This was an actual, repeatable, reliable system, and I had built it myself in my garage in under 2 hours, for less money than most people spend on a single month of takeout food. Now here's where things get interesting, because once I had confidence in the setup, I started digging into why it works so well, and why almost nobody talks about this approach. See, most people, when they think about going off-grid, they picture giant solar panel arrays covering an entire roof, massive battery walls mounted on a garage wall, professional installers, permits, inspections, and a price tag that starts at $10,000 and climbs from there. That image is what utility companies and big solar companies want you to picture, because that's the version they sell. That's the version with a profit margin big enough to justify a sales team, financing options, and glossy brochures. But that version isn't the only version. It's just the version that gets marketed the loudest. What I built skips almost all of that. No panels, at least not yet. I'll get to that in a minute. No permits, no installer, just a battery, a controller, some wire, and an inverter, sized specifically for what I actually needed, not what a salesman decided I should buy. That's the part that really got me thinking. Most home power systems are built for a hypothetical family running central air, a washer, a dryer, a dishwasher, and every light in the house at the same time. But my cabin isn't that. My cabin needs lights, it needs to charge a few devices, it needs to run a small fridge and maybe a fan in the summer. That's it. That's the entire load. So why was I even looking at systems designed for a 5-bedroom house? The moment I stopped trying to replicate a full grid-tied home and started building something sized for what I actually use, the entire cost structure collapsed. Instead of needing 10 panels, I needed maybe 1, eventually. Instead of needing a battery bank the size of a filing cabinet, I needed 1 deep cycle battery. Instead of needing a $5,000 inverter capable of running a whole house, I needed a small one capable of running exactly what I plug in. This is the part that I think most people miss when they hear the words off-grid power. They assume it's all or nothing. They assume you either go full send with a massive expensive system, or you don't do it at all and just stick with a generator or a utility bill. But there's this entire middle ground that barely gets talked about, where you build something scaled exactly to your real needs, spend a fraction of the cost, and still get real, dependable power. And once you see it that way, you start looking at your own home differently too. You start wondering how much of your electric bill is actually going toward things you rarely use, versus the handful of things you use every single day. For me, once I broke it down, it wasn't complicated at all. It was lights, a fridge, some charging, and occasionally a fan. Everything else was optional. As the weeks went on, I started refining the system even further. I added a small solar panel, just one, mounted on a simple tilt bracket outside the cabin window, angled to catch the afternoon sun. That one panel alone was enough to fully recharge the battery most days, meaning I wasn't even draining it down before it filled back up again. That's when the system stopped feeling like an experiment and started feeling like infrastructure, real, permanent, reliable infrastructure that just happened to cost less than a decent bicycle. I remember doing the math one night, sitting there with a notepad, comparing what I would have paid over a single year of running that gas generator, fuel costs, maintenance, oil changes, the noise, the hassle, against what I had spent total on this battery system. The gap wasn't small, it wasn't even close. The generator had already cost me more in a single year than this entire battery setup cost me, one time, forever. And that's the part that started keeping me up at night, in a good way. Because if this worked for a cabin with no power lines anywhere near it, what did that mean for people living in regular homes, paying a power bill every single month, without ever stopping to ask whether some portion of that bill could be handled a completely different way? I'm not talking about replacing your entire grid connection. I'm talking about the small stuff. The chest freezer in the garage, the lights in a shed, the sump pump that only runs during storms, the little pockets of power used that add up quietly every month, the ones utility companies count on you never questioning. Once I saw how easily and cheaply this system handled my cabin's needs, I couldn't unsee how much of our modern relationship with electricity is built on the assumption that we'll never look closely enough to ask if there's a cheaper way. And there's one more piece to this story, the part where I almost made a mistake that could have ruined the entire system in under a minute, a mistake so common that I guarantee some of you watching are one wire away from making it two, and I'm going to walk you through exactly what it was, and exactly how to avoid it right now. Let me tell you about that mistake, because it's the kind of thing that sounds small until you realize how much damage it could have done. When I was wiring the charge controller to the battery, there's a specific order you're supposed to follow. You connect the battery first, then the solar panel, then the load, and you disconnect in the exact opposite order. It sounds like a minor detail, almost bureaucratic, the kind of instruction you skim past because you're excited to get things running. But that order exists for a reason. If you connect the solar panel before the battery, the charge controller can get a voltage spike with nothing to regulate it against, and depending on the controller, that can fry the internal components in seconds. I had my panel sitting right there, cable in hand, and I almost plugged it in first, just because it was the closest connection to me at that moment. I was reaching for it, honestly already thinking about the next step, when something made me pause and double-check the manual one more time. That pause saved the entire system. Had I connected it in the wrong order, I could have destroyed a piece of equipment that cost real money. And worse, I might have walked away from the whole idea thinking it simply didn't work, when the truth would have been that I just did one step out of order. That's the kind of detail that never makes it into the exciting parts of these stories, but it's exactly the kind of detail that determines whether someone succeeds on their first attempt or gives up frustrated after their first failure. I think about that moment a lot because it says something bigger than just battery wiring. So many things in life, and especially in money and energy decisions, come down to small, unglamorous details that nobody bothers explaining clearly. People love to talk about the big, flashy stuff, the total cost, the dramatic before and after, the moment the lamp turns on for the first time. Nobody wants to slow down and explain the boring sequence of steps that actually make it work safely. But that boring sequence is the entire difference between a system that runs quietly for years and one that fails in the first 10 minutes. And once I got that order right, once everything was connected the correct way, the system just worked. No drama, no second attempt needed. Just steady, dependable power, day after day, exactly like it's been running ever since. Looking back on the whole thing now, months later, sitting in my cabin with the lamp on, the fridge humming, my phone charging in the corner, it's strange to think how close I came to never trying this at all. It would have been so easy to just accept the tens of thousands of dollar quote from the power company as the only option. It would have been easy to keep hauling gas cans out to that generator every weekend for years, telling myself that's just how off-grid living works. Most people do exactly that. They accept the first number they're given, the first solution they're offered, without ever stopping to ask if there's a smaller, smarter, cheaper way sitting right there in plain sight. And I get why. Electrical work sounds intimidating. Battery systems sound technical. Most people assume this stuff is only for engineers or hobbyists who've spent years studying it. But the truth is, once you break it down into what it actually is, a battery, a controller, some wire, an inverter, connected in the right order, it's something almost anyone can do in an afternoon. 2 hours, start to finish, exactly like I told you at the beginning. What really gets me, though, is thinking about how many people are out there right now, paying bills every single month for power they barely think about, never once asking whether some piece of that cost could be handled differently. I'm not saying everyone should rip out their electrical panel and go fully off-grid tomorrow. That's not realistic for most homes, and honestly, it's not necessary. But the mindset behind this project, the idea of looking at what you actually use, not what you're told you should have, and building something sized exactly to that real need, that mindset applies to so much more than just a cabin in the woods. It applies to how we think about subscriptions we don't use, insurance policies padded with coverage we'll never need, and yes, energy systems built for a lifestyle that isn't actually ours. The $300 battery system isn't just a story about a cabin. It's a story about questioning the default option, the expensive option, the one that gets handed to you without anyone explaining the cheaper path sitting quietly beside it. And here's the thing. the system isn't done growing. I've already got plans to add a second panel, maybe a second battery down the line, slowly expanding it as my needs grow, always staying just one step ahead of what I actually use. Never overbuilding, never overspending. That's the real lesson buried inside all of this. You don't need to solve the entire problem on day one. You don't need the $10,000 system to get started. You need the smallest version that actually works. And then you build from there, piece by piece, exactly like I did. $300, 2 hours, 0 monthly bill. That's not a gimmick, and it's not luck. It's just what happens when you stop assuming the expensive option is the only option, and you actually sit down and test the smaller one for yourself. So here's what I want from you watching this right now. If this story made you think even a little bit differently about power, about money, about how much of what we accept as normal cost is really just the default nobody questioned, I want you to drop a comment below and tell me what you'd want to run off a system like this. Would it be a shed, a garage, a backup for storms, an entire small cabin like mine? I read every single comment, and I want to know what your version of this project would look like, because chances are someone else watching has the exact same question you do, and your comment might be the thing that helps them finally take the leap. And if you know someone, a friend, a family member, anyone who's been quoted some outrageous number to get power run to a piece of land, or anyone who's still hauling gas cans out to a generator every single weekend, send them this video right now. Share it with them today, not next week, not when you remember, today, because this might be the exact information that saves them thousands of dollars and months of frustration. This channel exists to cut through the noise and show you the real numbers, the real setups, and the real path to keeping more of your own money. So if that's something you want more of, make sure you're subscribed, turn on notifications so you don't miss the next breakdown, and I will see you in the very next video.